Thanks very much. Well, Greg said he was nervous speaking after Hans Rosling. I'm pretty nervous speaking after Greg, actually. So we had a bit of magic earlier, and I'm just going to go back to that theme because it is quite disturbing when it says, please wrap up your presentation, isn't it? I want to share this picture with you. I should tell you, I'm a big disappointment to my mother. My mother told me 25 years ago I should get a job that I was proud to talk about after dinner. And I have a job which I'm very proud to talk about after dinner. The problem is my mum doesn't like me talking about it after dinner because what do? I worry about people's toilets all the time. And yes, it is okay to say defecate in the open because 2 billion people have to defecate in the open. But I'm not talking about them right now. I'm going to talk about this. This isn't my magic washing machine. This is my magic toilet. And it's fantastic. It keeps me healthy, keeps my children healthy, allows me to manage my menstrual hygiene. Bit of a shocking topic for some of you, I know, but it does. The bin in the corner is particularly helpful, those of you who don't put bins in your toilets. It gives me loads of free time. It's very easy to clean. As you can see, it's marvellously stylish. My mum does like the toilet, I have to say. Gives me lots of free time so I can soak in this lovely stylish bath over here with my solar heated water, I'd like you to know. So it's pretty magic, and it's part of a system that's even more magical that keeps the environment clean, keeps the Macclesfield Canal clean, allows us to swim on clean, beautiful, spotless beaches on the Wirral, admittedly, but you know, what can you do if you live in the northwest of England? So it's a pretty magical thing, and for me, one of the most magical things about it actually is that these guys, this is my children several years ago, can go to school. They can go to school because we have a toilet in our house. They go to school because they are not suffering from diarrhea, and they can go to a school where there's also a toilet so they can practice safe hygiene at school. So for me, the toilet in my house is a kind of unsung hero. It's something we don't think about. We take it completely for granted. It's the reason why those kids are healthy. It's probably the reason why they're both still alive. This is also a magic toilet. This one's in Bangladesh. It's in a slum. It keeps these people very healthy. It keeps them very happy. It gives them a lot of time as well, and they probably make better use of the time that they gain. They don't soak in the bath. They actually do productive things, earn a living, get wealthier, participate in society in a much more effective way because they have a toilet. These two girls are at school because that toilet exists. That's a magic toilet. And for me, it's probably, well, for me personally, it's the most important development project in the world. The problem with that toilet is an awful lot of people think it's a pretty rubbish toilet, actually. And the reason for that is because it's connected to a sewer, which doesn't go to a wastewater treatment plant, goes straight out into a river and makes a horrible environmental mess. So it's not a perfect solution. And a lot of people would quite like me, in a lot of the projects that I work on, not to build that toilet at all, because we haven't solved this problem. I find it very hard to tell those girls that. I would rather those girls had a clean, safe place to go to the toilet and a school with a clean, safe place to go to a toilet and menstrual hygiene provision. And we'll worry about the environment in a while. That's my premise. It matters. We live in a very urbanizing world. One of the most, I think, interesting statistics for me as a public health engineer in terms of the urbanizing world is we're going backwards. The world's urbanizing, and the quality of urban services at the moment is going backwards. Every year there are more people living in cities who don't have basic sanitation than there were the year before. So it's not kind of looking too good. 1.7 million people die every year of diarrhea. That's the statistic we love to use. That's a jumbo jet crash every hour and a half, every day and night of all of our lives, all the time. Entirely preventable deaths. About 1 billion cases of diarrhea every year. And we're not talking about, you know, squitty tummy. We're talking about killing diarrhea. We're talking about devastating sickness that comes back again and again and kills your children. About 1/3 of the developing world's population are infested with intestinal worms. Children who are infested with intestinal worms have severely impaired cognitive ability. They cannot learn in school. It contributes to malnutrition. It's ridiculous. It's the 21st century. We're talking about iPads and open source data, and we can't give people toilets. It's incredibly frustrating. People are doing things. Local governments all over the world doing fantastic stuff, really, really trying hard. National governments doing really cool stuff. Lots of NGOs working really hard. WaterAid doing terrific work. That magic toilet I showed you in Bangladesh, that's a WaterAid toilet. But it kind of keeps going wrong. Here's some toilets that appear to be in the wrong place, not really doing their job. Here's a very nice looking toilet. It's a community toilet, just on the edge of a slum. Looks very nice, slightly messed up on the administrative arrangements. Nobody keeps it clean. It's blocked. I'm not sending my girl children in there to go to the toilet. There's no electric light either. That's another problem. This is a household in a low-income area. I'm not naming any of these countries because, you know, I have my professional future to think of. This is a household in a country that have been given a toilet and a house connection, but unfortunately the project that they're supposed to be connected to has basically not been financed properly, so there's no sewer in the street. So they don't exactly get a huge service out of that. And, oh, I've got the technology problem now. And this is the worst of all. I'm not going to name this country either. This is a state-of-the-art activated sludge treatment plant that's been funded by taxpayers' money from a wealthy country. I won't tell you which one, but it's not Yorkshire. It's part of a big development project that is supposed to improve the livelihoods of people who live in a low-income area. It's 3 years old. It's never been commissioned. There never was a plan to build sewers. There's no money to connect people to this wastewater treatment plant. The people who live in this area have a perfectly good sanitation system, which they're using very happily, thank you very much. They are never going to be connected to this. It is doing nothing. So we keep forgetting that sanitation, like all of the development project, is actually about people. It's about people, small and big. It is about the big environmental issues, but it's really also, for me, about justice and fairness and making sure that people are able to participate. And we do somehow keep forgetting that, I think. And it puzzles me, really. I mean, I'm a public health engineer. I was trained to look at public health problems and come up with solutions. And all my colleagues and all the people I work with in local government all over the world are trained to do that. So what's going wrong? And then about 10 years ago, I had a sort of Damascus Road experience. I was in Kabul in 2002. I was pregnant with my second child, so I was probably a little bit hormonal, probably a little bit emotional. That's what happens when you get women up on the stage. It's always risky, I know. But there I was, and my job, I had a brilliant job. My job was to work out in a hurry, what are we going to do in this post-conflict situation to deliver basic sanitation services in Kabul and the other cities in Afghanistan? Otherwise, we're going to have a cholera epidemic. Now, Kabul has this really amazing traditional system where people have toilets in their houses, and the farmers come into the city and empty the household toilets through that little gate on the left you can see there. And they go out to their fields and they use that human waste as fertilizer. It's a fantastic system. It's been working for hundreds of years. Unfortunately, it's a system which is very prone to be disrupted when well-meaning donors flood the market with subsidized cheap chemical fertilizers. So that indigenous sanitation system was not doing too well. At the same time, hundreds and now millions of people were moving into Kabul and settling on these very steep hillsides. This is not the kind of environment where conventional sewers are going to achieve much, right? But all of the conversation amongst the engineering community that I was working with was about, we have a wastewater treatment plant, we have a network of sewers, we must rehabilitate them and get them working. That's a sewer network that was, even before people started running into Kabul, only serving 10% of the population. I was thinking, what are you doing? This is the problem we have to be solving. We need to be getting shit off the streets right now to prevent a cholera epidemic. And I think the problem was that these were people that thought of sanitation like this. Neat and tidy, right? My magic toilet, my beautiful streets in my rather lovely Cheshire town where I live, connected to a very effective wastewater treatment plant. That's what these people that I was working with were thinking of. But the problem is, the world where I work, the problem that I'm trying to solve is this problem, and it's not neat and tidy, it's not linear, it's not well planned, it's not organized, it's chaotic, it's full of power relationships, it's full of injustice, it's full of politics, it's also full of people, and it's hugely full of potential. And if you start to think about the sanitation challenge like this, it becomes much more interesting and exciting. We can get people to build toilets for themselves. People want toilets. We can get all sorts of nifty ways of moving human waste out of communities. We can do it much cheaper than we've done it in this country. We can, once we move waste out of communities and into the public space, quite often get societies to respond and do sensible environmental things. Reuse waste for agriculture in safe ways, capture energy. We need to spend money, And an awful lot of countries are not spending enough money. This is data from McKinsey, and India, for me, is one of the really, really terrible examples of a country that's just not spending enough money addressing these problems. But primarily what we need to do is work really hard. The Minister of Health for Malaysia was at a conference that I attended a few years ago, and someone asked him, how has Malaysia transformed its sanitation story? Which it has. Malaysia's a fantastically interesting and inspirational story. A colleague of mine from India said to him, is there a thing that you did? What's the one magic thing that you did? And he said, you know what we did? We worked really hard for 40 years. We started solving the immediate problem. We worked in partnership with people. We solved problems. We created more problems. We solved those problems. We moved on. We moved progressively to where we are. It's not actually that exciting, but it's so important. I think everybody in this world should have a magic toilet. I think every girl should be able to go to school. I think every woman should be able to manage her menstrual hygiene at work, at school, and at home. I think it's just not an option not to do these things. Thank you.